And we always talk about the cloud. Not a week goes by and we don't mention the cloud. Google Drive is included in your Google account. So when you set up a Google account, you can have a dozen other programs, if not more, and they're all free, one of which is Google Drive. And of course, that's cloud file storage, and that gives you 15 gigabytes of storage, which is absolutely free. So that's just a side benefit. There are many, many other benefits of having a Google account. I just mentioned this one because if you haven't started using cloud for storage, like your photos or your documents, where you can store them in a safe place, this is an excellent opportunity to not only get your Google account, set up your Google Voice account, but take advantage of the free Google Drive option. Okay, so next one. Some of the features that we get with Google Voice. And I have to admit, one, I've got an error up here. I said enter. This is everything that's free. I'm a liar. International calls are not free. They're free to Canada, but they're not free to the rest of the world. So let's go down. We get voice transcription. You have one number that everything comes in on. You get a personalized greeting. You can do text messaging. You can share your voicemails. You can block callers. You can screen incoming calls if you don't want to take it. Maybe it's a telephoner that's trying to sell you something or to get you to contribute money. There's a mobile app for your Android or your Apple device. You can do conference calls. And of course, as I mentioned just a moment ago, you have free, well not free, $20, you have the opportunity to port that number. So we'll go to the next one here. And here's some examples of what I was talking about on free phone calls. This is how, when it comes up on your screen, and we're going to show you in a minute, you see you have a dial button, a dial pad, very much like a simulated telephone. And you can, over here you have a menu, very much like you did with Skype. So, and you have over here, if you want to try it, this gives you an opportunity to make a test call. And as I say, free to USA and Canada and the Virgin Islands, cheap international calls, and there is an option to do video chats, but very much like Skype, both of you have to have a Google Voice account, and both of you have to have the video chat option turned on. So, next slide, please, Barry.
Thanks for mentioning Skype.
Well, I can walk on my parade, but you can't. The option of the, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? Okay. Anyway, here's some examples. France, a mobile phone call, Google Voice, 10 cents a minute. I don't know who this leading telephony provider would be, but my guess is it's Skype. Their second time. Germany, to a mobile phone, 10 cents a minute. India, to a mobile phone, 2 cents a minute. Mexico, which is typically very expensive phone calls, 15 cents a minute to a mobile phone. And of course, we have United States, and I put a couple up here of extra ones, like Israel Mobile, 10 cents a minute. Israel Landline, 2 cents a minute. Mexico Landline, 6 cents a minute. And calls landline to Mexico City only, 2 cents a minute. So as you can see, now, when you set up your Google Voice account, in order to start charging these minutes, they give you the option, or not the option, but you must have a credit to your Google Voice account for which that money, each time you make a call, is extracted from. So you can use a credit card or you can use a debit card, and they're sold in $10 increments. So you get $10 worth of airtime credit, and then you start making calls. When you open your Google Voice, it'll tell you how much you have left in your account. And when it gets down to less than $1, put another $10 in, and that makes it relatively simple and inexpensive at the same time. So moving on to the next slide now, we're going to get to the area that Danuta wants to talk about, and that is questions. So that's the basics. We're going to pull one up here on the screen, I think, but now we're going to turn this back to you. I've had my turn. It's now yours, and I'd like to answer, if I'm capable, any questions you might have about Google Voice. I've used the phone, Google Voice, for about 6 years. I've never, ever had a problem. Calls are crystal clear. I rarely use the video portion. I mainly use it just for a telephone. I have 2 Google Voice phone numbers, one in the 562 area code because I was formerly living in California, and then I have another Google Voice number, which is here in 954 area here for Florida. And each time, you can have more than one Google account. If your name was Joan Smith, you could have Joan Smith 1, Joan Smith 2, if that name's available. Joan Smith 3, you could have a dozen Google accounts, and you could have Google Voice added free to each one of those accounts. So why you'd want to do that? Probably the only reason you'd want to do that is you wanted a bunch of different phone numbers. So that, because when you get a phone number, you might have friends in New York, you might have friends in Seattle, and you may have friends in Chicago. So if you had 3 accounts, you could have a Google phone number in each one of those cities, and your friends could call you to that local number, which would then, it's called call forwarding via the internet. It would ring on your phone here in Florida, and it would cost your friends nothing to call you. So anyway, that's one of the reasons for having multiple accounts.
Thank
so
you,
that's
Terry.
it. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
for
Terry.
listening.
Hold on.
One thing, if you have a Google account, does that mean, oh, I'm sorry, Barry, did you say stop?
No, Danuta's turn.
Okay.
Oh, Danuta, go ahead.